morning, good morning. It is your boy Jay Goble back at it again for Not Many Noble, reading the Bible through in 22 with you. Day 134, I think. What day of the year is May 25th? Because that's where we're at. Day 125. It is the 145th. What did I say? 134. Wow. 145. Wow. That's all I'm going to say, Jake, is wow. How do you do that? How do you bring that much, I want to say stupidity, into this recording? Just stop. All right, I'm going to stop. We're reading the Bible through in chronological order in the World English Bible Translation. Its copyright is in the public domain based on the American Standard of like 1901, I think. Something along those lines. Where are we at? We're in 2 Chronicles and 1 Kings. In the reign of King Solomon is where we're at. We started with Genesis, went to Job, then Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1 Samuel. We sprinkled 1 Chronicles. We sprinkled some Psalms. We got a few more Psalms coming tomorrow because there's 2 Psalms from Solomon. But so, yeah, we're reading all the things that we can about Solomon, things that he wrote, things that he did. And that's where we're at right now. We're in 2 Chronicles 8 and 1 Kings today. So we'll start. We start in 1 Chronicles 8. We got some other spots that we'll read. And we're in 1 Kings 9 and 10. All right. 2 Chronicles 8:1 through 18. Is it the whole chapter? It is the whole chapter. Makes it easy for me. At the end of 20 years in which Solomon had built Yahweh's house and his own house, Solomon built the cities which Huram had given to Solomon and caused the children of Israel to dwell there. Solomon went to Hamath Zobah and prevailed against it. He built Tadmor in the wilderness and all the storage cities which he built in Hamath. Also he built Beth Horon in the upper and Beth Horon the lower. I'm sorry, not in the upper, just Beth Horon the upper and Beth Horon the lower. Fortified cities with wells, gates, and bars, and Baalath, and of the storage cities that Solomon had, and all the cities for his chariots, the cities for his horsemen, and all that Solomon desired to build for his pleasure in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. As for all the people who were left of the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of Israel, of their children who were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel didn't consume, of them Solomon conscripted forced labor to this day. But of the children of Israel, Solomon made no servants for his work, for they were men of war, and chief of his captains, and rulers of his chariots and of his horsemen. These were the chief officers of King Solomon, even 250 who ruled over the people. Solomon brought up Pharaoh's daughter out of David's city to the house that he had built for her, for he said, "My wife shall not dwell in the house of David, king of Israel, because the places where Yahweh's ark has come are holy." Then Solomon offered burnt offerings to Yahweh on Yahweh's altar, which he had built before the porch, even as the duty of every day required, offering according to the commandment of Moses on the Sabbaths, on the new moons, and on the set feasts, 3 times per year, during the feast of unleavened bread, during the feast of weeks, and during the feast of booths. He appointed, according to the ordinance of David his father, the divisions of the priests to their service, and the Levites to their offices, to praise and to minister before the priests as the duty of every day required. The doorkeepers also by their divisions at every gate, for David the man of God had so commanded. They didn't depart from the commandment of the king to the priests and Levites concerning any matter or concerning the treasures. Now all the work of Solomon was prepared from the day of the foundation of Yahweh's house until it was finished. So Yahweh's house was completed. Then Solomon went to Ezion-Geber and to Eloth on the seashore in the land of Edom. Huram sent him ships and servants who had knowledge of the sea by the hands of his servants, and they came with the servants of Solomon to Ophir and brought from there 450 talents of gold and brought them to King Solomon. Couple things. It's not like there's some romantic tale that you're like, oh, we got to be like that. Man, if we just had it like that. Because, really, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, if I'm not mistaken, we read that Israel was supposed to destroy them. Did not. And now, of all the children who were left in the land, Solomon conscripted forced labor, conscripted them and conscripted them into forced labor. He just took them as slaves. Slaves. Bondservants. Meaning, call it whatever you want to call it. Conscripted. Forced labor. Slavery. You're going to work. You are going to work. And then it doesn't look like his wife became a convert because he moved her. Looks like she had some time. Looks like she became a convert to worshiping Yahweh. Doesn't look like that, right? Looks like she stayed worshiping the gods of Egypt. So he moves her out of there. 1 Kings 9:15 through 10:13. That's what we got, through 10:13. This is the reason of the levy. This is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised to build Yahweh's house, his own house, Millo, Jerusalem's wall, Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer. Gezer? I don't know. Gezer. If you're a geezer, I'm sorry. If you're like, oh man, he's talking about me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the city. I'm talking about this city. And the reason of the levy, that's a tax. He's taxing his people. He's taxing people to build Yahweh's house, his own house, to build Jerusalem's wall and these other cities. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up, taken Gezer, burned it with fire, killed the Canaanites who lived in the city, and given it for a wedding gift to his daughter, Solomon's wife. Let me read that again. Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up, taken Gezer, burned it with fire, killed the Canaanites who lived in the city, and gave it for a wedding gift to his daughter, Solomon's wife. Solomon built in the land of Gezer, Beth-horon the lower, Baalath, Tamar in the wilderness, all the storage cities that Solomon had, the cities for his chariots, the cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build for his pleasure in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. As for all the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of the children of Israel, their children who were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel were not able utterly to destroy, so they were supposed to do, of them Solomon raised a levy of bondservants to this day. But of the children of Israel, Solomon made no bondservants, but they were the men of war, his servants, his princes, his captains, and rulers of his chariots and his horsemen. Obviously, we know that there is divine intervention going on because we read about it. But generally speaking, when you look throughout history, that ends up what happened. What happened was the men of war go in, kill all the men, take the women, raise up the children as their own, or kill them as well, sell them, keep them, and rule over them. It's not real hard to track in the annals of history amongst tribes of all peoples all over the globe that is normally the case. If you are a man of war and your people are people of war, you subjugate those who are not people of war. These were the 550 chief officers who were over Solomon's work, who ruled over the people who labored in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of this David's city to her house which Solomon had built for her. Then he built a Millo. Solomon offered burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar which he built to Yahweh 3 times a year, burning incense with them on the altar that was before Yahweh. So he finished the house. King Solomon made a fleet of ships in Ezion-Geber, I don't know, which is beside Eloth on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. Hiram sent in the fleet his servants, sailors who had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. They came to Ophir and fetched from there gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon. 1 Kings 10. So now we're moving forward in 1 Kings 10 down to verse 13. When the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning Yahweh's name, she came to test him with hard questions. She came to Jerusalem with a very great caravan, with camels that bore spices, very much gold, and precious stones. And when she had come to Solomon, she talked with him about all that was in her heart. Okay, I'm sorry, but as soon as he said she came to Jerusalem with a very great caravan, with camels that bore spices, I had the image in my mind of Aladdin with the genie. And then he's bringing Prince Ali, fabulous he, Ali Ababwa. Anyway, okay, sorry. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I'm the only one that had that pop into my brain, but that's how I imagine the queen of Sheba showing up. Solomon answered all her questions. There wasn't anything hidden from the king which he didn't tell her. When the queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built, the food of his table, the sitting of his servants, the attendance of his officials, their clothing, his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up to Yahweh's house, there was no more spirit in her. She said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land of your acts and of your wisdom. However, I didn't believe the words until I came and my eyes had seen it. Behold, not even half was told me. Your wisdom and prosperity exceed the fame which I heard. Happy are your men. Happy are these your servants who stand continually before you, who hear your wisdom. Blessed is Yahweh your God, who delighted in you to set you on the throne of Israel. Because Yahweh loved Israel forever, therefore he made you king to do justice and righteousness." She gave the king 120 talents of gold and a very great quantity of spices and precious stones. Never again was there such an abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. It's kind of sorry. I've got a few thoughts on that. We have a saying, and we ascribe it maybe like to the West or something along those lines, but like this, the rich get richer, right? The rich get richer, the poor get poor, and just the way it goes, and the system is set up to make you fail, and the man is coming to get you, and capitalism, this and that and the other thing, and it's a much bigger problem than that. It's a much bigger problem than capitalism. It's a much bigger problem than the patriarchy. It's a much bigger problem than, whatever politically correct word, term, slang, whatever that you want to talk about. This wealth that accumulates in the hands of the few. Look, Solomon had everything. She said, Queen of Sheba came, and she's like, I came to see for myself what's up with y'all. And not even half of what I heard was true. You're that wonderful. And then what does she do? Like, he has everything he needs. He's got everything he needs. He has everything. And then she gives the king another 120 talents of gold, a great quantity of spices and precious stones. And it's like, how is it that the wealth accumulates in the hands of the few here? Well, obviously, we have some divinely inspired divinely inspired things going on here, because God has set Yahweh Yahweh has set Solomon on the throne. There we go. And has blessed him. But we see this play out. It's like, how? Well, how did he do that? Well, through the normal laws of creation that we see right now. I mean, we see this continuing to happen. Those in power get more power. Those with money accumulate more money and wealth and control. And it's the way it works. It's the way it works. All right, so 10:13 is the last one here. So the fleet of Hiram that brought gold from Ophir also brought in from Ophir great quantities of almug trees and precious stones. The king made of the almug trees pillars for Yahweh's house, and for the king's house harps also and stringed instruments for the singers. No such almug trees came or were seen to this day. King Solomon gave to the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatever she asked, in addition to that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own land, she and her servants. Now, what's interesting is the question that I have, this like, well, what did she get? Well, she was able to tap into the wisdom of Solomon. What happened to her afterwards? Well, we don't know. I don't know. But was it a good exchange? And see, that's, I think, the bit that a lot of times folks don't understand, or don't say, or don't, I don't know, at least acknowledge. Like when you say, oh, these people, they're accumulating all this wealth unjustly. But really, the people that are involved in the transaction are like, man, this is a good deal. This is a fair trade. I like this. I want this. Right? It's not Rockefeller. Who was the other guy? Other rich old dude. Dead now. They all die, by the way. Spoiler alert. They all die. Was it John Rockefeller? Oil? Maybe it was. Okay, it was oil. Yeah. So this is he revolutionized the petroleum industry, and through corporate and technological innovations, instrumental in both widely disseminating and drastically reducing the production cost of oil. So this is what he did. He made it cheaper for you, the regular people, to have to heat their houses. So it's like, I get it. There's a lot of, we're just barely scratching the surface. I understand this problem with Old Boy. Hear me out though. Like what he did is he made many people's lives easier. He did it for cheaper, and they were happy and willing to give him their money. Happy and willing, because they thought, oh, this trade is beneficial for me. Amazon. How many of y'all be over here like Amazon Prime? Amazon, Prime shipping and Walmart, the cost of goods. You're like, this is a fair deal. This is a good deal. You go to Amazon, this is a good deal. I'm going to buy this. I can have it tomorrow. This is fantastic. I'm excited to do it. And I'm excited I want more. I want more of this. So the transaction itself that enriches those people, like the transactions themselves, the people that are involved in them feel like they got a good deal. Like the Queen of Sheba left thinking she got a good deal. Like you go to Walmart, you leave thinking you got a good deal. You buy at Amazon, you leave thinking, or you hang up your phone, you turn off your phone, whatever, you click submit, you click buy now thinking you got a good deal. You're happy to do it. You're excited for the next time you need something. Meanwhile, what is happening is the people that run those companies are becoming richer and richer, and we're, becoming poorer and poorer, I guess, but our standard of living is going up. You know what I mean? So there's some balance there, but all I'm saying is this. It's like, it's the way it works. It's the way it happens. It happens from antiquity until today. And it's not that capitalism is the problem. It's not that these people are evil. It is that they are making the majority of people's lives better. They're making a large swath of humanity, their lives better, or at least from the purchaser's perception, better. You could argue whether long-term, whether Amazon makes your life better, Walmart makes life better, whatever. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying the people who are engaged in the transaction at the time are thinking they got a deal, and they're happy to give their money over. That's it. 2 Chronicles 9. Are we in 2 Chronicles? Yeah, 2 Chronicles 9, 1 through 12. When the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon, she came to test Solomon with hard questions at Jerusalem, with a very great caravan, including camels that bore spices, gold in abundance, and precious stones. When she had come to Solomon, she talked with him about all that was in her heart. Solomon answered all her questions. There wasn't anything hidden from Solomon which he didn't tell her. When the Queen of Sheba had seen the wisdom of Solomon, the house that he had built, the food of his table, the seating of his servants, the attendance of his ministers, their clothing, his cupbearers, also their clothing, and his ascent by which he went up to Yahweh's house, there was no more spirit in her. She said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land of your acts and of your wisdom. However, I didn't believe their words until I came and my eyes had seen it. And behold, half of the greatness of your wisdom wasn't told me. You exceed the fame that I heard. Happy are your men, and happy are these your servants who stand continually before you and hear your wisdom. Blessed be Yahweh your God, who delighted in you to set you on his throne to be king for Yahweh your God, because your God loved Israel to establish them forever. Therefore he made you king over them to do justice and righteousness." She gave the king 120 talents of gold, spices in great abundance, and precious stones. There was never before such spice as the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. The servants of Huram and the servants of Solomon, who brought gold from Ophir, also brought algum trees and precious stones. The king used algum tree wood to make terraces for Yahweh's house and for the king's house, and harps and stringed instruments for the singers. There were none like these seen before in the land of Judah. King Solomon gave to the Queen of Sheba all her desire, whatever she asked, in addition to that which she had brought to the king. So she turned and went to her own land, she and her servants. Bouncing back now to 1 Kings 10:14. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold. 666 talents of gold, in addition to that which the traders brought, and the traffic of the merchants, and of all the kings of the mixed people, and of the governors of the country. King Solomon made 200 bucklers of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one buckler. All right, buckler. I thought it was like a shield and buckler. I don't know. I'm going to check real quick. What is a buckler? Yeah, it's a small shield. Yeah, it's a small shield. That's what I thought. A small shield. Small shield. You got it. Small shield. He made 300 shields of beaten gold. Oh, and they answer it in the next sentence. Just should have paid attention. 3 minas of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the finest gold. That's interesting. There were 6 steps to the throne, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were armrests on either side by the place of the seat, and 2 lions standing beside the armrests. 12 lions stood there on the one side and on the other of the 6 steps. Nothing like it was made in any kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver, because it was considered of little value in the days of Solomon. For the king had a fleet of Tarshish at sea with Hiram's fleet. Once every 3 years the fleet of Tarshish came, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth in riches and in wisdom. All the earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God put in his heart. Oh, nope, I'm going to go all the way to the end. I thought it was 24. I'm going to go to 29, the end of the chapter here. Year after year, every man brought his tribute, vessels of silver, vessels of gold, clothing, armor, spices, horses, and mules. Solomon gathered together chariots and horsemen. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen that he kept in the chariot cities with the king at Jerusalem. The king made silver as common as stones in Jerusalem, and cedars as common as the sycamore trees that were in the lowland. The horses which Solomon had were brought out of Egypt. The king's merchants received them in droves, each drove at a price. The chariot came up and went out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150 shekels, and so they exported them to all the kings of the Hittites and to the kings of Syria. So they're buying, selling, making awesome things. All right, 2 Chronicles 9:13 through 28. Which is, again, no, it's still not to the end of the chapter. I'm sorry. Okay, so I got to stop at 28. All right. It's the same thing we're reading here, though. Now, the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold, in addition to that which the traders and merchants brought. All the kings of Arabia and the governors of the country brought gold and silver to Solomon. King Solomon made 200 bucklers of beaten gold. 600 shekels of beaten gold went to one buckler. He made 300 shields of beaten gold. 300 shekels of gold went to one shield. The king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with pure gold. There were 6 steps to the throne with a footstool of gold, which were fastened to the throne, and armrests on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions standing beside the armrests. 12 lions stood there on the one side and on the other on the 6 steps. There was nothing like it made in any other kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and of the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. Silver was not considered valuable in the days of Solomon, for the king had ships that went to Tarshish with Huram's servants. Once every 3 years the ships of Tarshish came bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth in riches and wisdom. All the kings of the earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom which God had put in his heart. They each brought tribute, vessels of silver, vessels of gold, clothing, armor, spices, horses, and mules every year. Solomon had 4,000 stalls for horses and chariots, and 12,000 horsemen that he stationed in the chariot cities, and with the king at Jerusalem. He ruled over all the kings from the river, even to the land of the Philistines, and to the border of Egypt. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and he made cedars to be as abundant as the sycamore trees that are in the lowland. They brought horses for Solomon out of Egypt and out of all lands. All right. Then 2 Chronicles 2 Chronicles 1, 14 through 17. So back to the beginning here. Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen. Okay, he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen that he placed in the chariot cities and with the king at Jerusalem. The king made silver and gold to be as common as stones in Jerusalem, and he made cedars to be as common as the sycamore trees that were in the lowland. The horses which Solomon had were brought out of Egypt and from Kue. The king's merchants purchased them from Kue. I don't know. Q-U-E. Or K-U-E. Not a Q. It's not a Q. Sorry, it's a K. They brought up and brought out of Egypt a chariot for 600 pieces of silver and a horse for 150. They also exported them to the Hittite kings and the Syrian kings. All right. So that's the reading. Last thought here. Last little thought. Here's my thought. When you see powerful men with a lot of control and a lot of wealth, the more, seems like the more power, the more control, the more authority they have, the higher ethical standard is required. But we see that ethical failing frequently, right? I mean, you look at a lot of the world's richest men. I mean, you've got, well, maybe, okay, of the world's richest people, like half of them are the wives of the world's richest men, and they're there because they are divorced, and there's normally some activity that is not ethically sound. Yeah, they're adulterers and whatever else they're doing. So it's like the more power and authority. And then we see that's going to be the downfall. I was like, what's your point there, Jake? What's your point, bro? That was the downfall of Solomon. We're going to read about it. That's the thing. Like, he had everything. He had everything. But he destroyed himself. He destroyed himself because he could not stick to the high ethical standard that was required of him. I know. Isn't that crazy? We think we got it. We think we could do it. Give me a chance, God. Give me a chance. Yeah, give me 200 billion, God. I'll take care of it. I'll show you the excellencies of my ethical choices. Yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy I'm not there. I'm happy I'm not there because, I couldn't imagine having everything thrown at you all the time. All the vices. Being tempted with all the vices because you have everything, the whole world at the tip of your fingers. I think it would destroy me. Yeah, that's what I think. I don't know about you. You're probably better than me, and that's fine. So, we are done reading. It is, however, I've been rambling a lot. My bad. We're just going to pray real quick, and then we're going to rock the boogie. We're going to bounce. We're going to get out of here and call it a day. That's what we're going to do. If you have prayer requests, hit me up, notmanynoble@gmail.com. You have thoughts, questions, concerns, anything else, just hit me up, notmanynoble@gmail.com. Show notes are at notmanynoble.com. That is where you can find everything else for the show, the previous 144 episodes, because it's day 145 right now. So if you're driving, keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Pay attention to the road around you. If you're not, you can close your eyes. I'm just going to pray real quick, and then we're going to rock the boogie. We're going to bounce and get out of here. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for the truth of it. Thank you for the realness of it. Thank you that you have not chosen to sterilize the history, what happened, keep it from us, hide it from us. You've chosen to reveal it to us. You've chosen to give that to us, that we might learn, that we might worship, that we might obey, that we might turn to the only one who has ever lived in perfection, who has taken up the throne and has achieved that high moral excellency, and that is the Lord Jesus Christ. And we look to him for a right standing before you, but then also pray that you would make us more like him. We want to be perfect because you are. We want to be pure because you are. We want to be holy because you are. We want to be set apart for the work that you have for us. Forgive us for when we have given into the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, and been happy to chase after our own passions and desires. Forgive us, draw near to us, cleanse us, wash us in the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ. We pray these things in his name. Amen. All right, y'all. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you tomorrow, day 146. All right, let's go get it.